even if we do understand it, somehow there's a bias that when things are going well or things are difficult, we often punctuate that you're causing my behavior or I'm causing your behavior. It's very difficult for us to appreciate that we are causing one another's behavior.
It's nice to be back with you again and to further look into this podcast of ours.
I share that. As each episode, we're going into more and more detail, that onion, that one layer at a time. But it's the depth that we begin to explore, which makes it meaningful.
We're taking layer by layer. We're looking
Yes.
into that. Well, so if we just have a look at the previous episode. So the previous episode, we really started to have a look at the communications theory and the person-centered theory and how they really complement each other, and what it can mean for a therapist as well when you look through both lenses.
Yes.
And yeah, and how they can really assist each other with that.
Very much.
So the last time we also said that we'll look at circularity, but we said pause, and that we really go into depth with that. So just before we go into that, it seems like that the communication theory was really a very important development in psychotherapy. So maybe if we stand still on that for first.
Yes. The communication theory is a really a watershed in the field, a watershed development, because for the first time, we, through this model, began to understand the importance of communication, the nuances of the communication process, and most importantly, the communication involves a relationship, it involves interaction. And what one is looking at then is a unit. So when everyone's looking at communication, you're looking at sender and receiver, you're looking at a unit, you're looking at their relationship, the interaction. And it became clear through the communication theory model that not only is it important to understand the frame of reference of the other, and for communication purposes to achieve a shared frame of reference for meaningful communication to occur, but moreover, that when it comes to communication, the effects and the distinction between intention and what I intend and the impact or effect I have, and vice versa. So it showed us the not only the nuances of communication, but the different intention and effect or impact, and most importantly, communication value of behavior. So that we, in effect, all behavior is communication. We cannot not communicate. And so that we are both bound by communication, defined by it, and have to continue communicating and in the process of communicating and therefore relating all the time.
You can really not communicate on your own. It's always in relationship, and it's also with the intent and the impact and understanding that process. Because you might have the best intentions, but the impact might be something different, and understanding that.
Yes, very much. And it also highlighted the functioning and relational functioning a unit, that it requires interaction, there's a relationship, and we don't just utilize communication, we are in a sense communication. We are constantly communicating, and that we do so as a unit. So this is a very profound development in the field, and it was in fact a precursor to the next major development in the field that had to do with looking at circularity, which is looking at circular causality.
Which we said we'll get to.
We did say that. We did
Yes,
promise. Yes.
yes. Yeah, so it's that unit and understanding that unit. And the next step is then looking at the circularity and really going into detail about that.
Yes. So the major development occurring in science at this time was really beginning to think about a different model of causality. Up until this time, the prevailing model of causality was what's known as linear or lineal, depends on the maths expression, lineal or linear causality, which is, in a sense, something that was utilized by others, Newton, and so often it's called Newtonian physics. But the understanding that in linear causality, one event causes another in a straight line way, much like billiard balls, one billiard ball hitting the next billiard ball, hitting the next and causing the next. So a straight line sequence of causality. But what then came with the next development was to consider, but what if causality is not necessarily always linear or in a straight line? What if it's circular? What if one event causes another event that in turn comes back to the starting point and affects that same event? So suddenly what one is now looking at or conceptualizing is circular causality, that there's one event that causes another that in turn causes that same event. So that events in circular causality circle back to their starting point. And within that understanding, in that frame of reference for causality, I'm impacting on you, and you are impacting on me, who's impacting on you. And so in this model of causality, effects are causes and causes are effects because they circle round the starting point. So in a given circle, you can punctuate here and this event causes that, or you can punctuate on this side or anywhere in the circle. This event is causing that event, which is causing that event. And so this is circular causality.
Which is an amazing development, actually, because what I also hear from that is the A causes B. There can be so much blame in that. That's this caused that. But once you understand the circularity part of it, it takes the blame out, and it's actually just understanding communication and the value of communication, and that you can punctuate, like you say, from any point. It just depends on where you start, but understanding that both are causes, both are effects.
Yes, that's so difficult for us as people, as human beings, often to understand. Even if we do understand it, somehow there's a bias that when things are going well or things are difficult, we often punctuate that you're causing my behavior or I'm causing your behavior. It's very difficult for us to appreciate that we are causing one another's behavior, that we are relating to each other in a way that has to do with circular causality. That is really difficult to understand.
It makes sense on the one hand, but the more you go into it, it is actually very complex.
It is, yes. Because what it describes, and this was it's a phenomenal development then, is that events are interdependent. That at any time, how events relate when they are together and how they relate when they are apart may not be the same. And this was the beauty of systems approach. It is understanding the functioning of a system, of a unit, with two or more parts, and how they interact, how they relate, and their organization as a unit, as a system, and how the parts maintain one another in a way that's very, very, or can be very meaningful. It can be harmful, but they're functioning together can be different to how they function independently and separately.
Yeah, it's really we don't live in isolation. It is we always we relate and we function together, and understanding the circularity of any two people at a given time, um, understanding the cause effect cause and how circular that can be. It really it creates an understanding of the interdependence there, and how it seems like there's a special quality around how things work when they are together versus how they work when they are apart.
Yes.
And that sounds like another episode that we really need to go into even more depth, and that there's really a lot of value in there.
Very much. It's once one can understand this distinction between lineal and causality and circular causality, uh, one then can start to appreciate how is one observing, and depending on your model of causality, what impact is that going to have in what you're observing. But in order to observe interdependence and how things function together, that involves circular causality. And yes, there does appear to be a very special quality that emerges when parts are relating together to when they are on their own.
So that sounds very exciting, and I think we need to go into depth with that. So looking forward to the next episode.
Yes, very much. I look forward to that.